How's it going, everyone? Welcome to this week's Q&A. So like any other week, if you want a chance at one of your questions being answered, make sure you do drop a comment down below and I'll try to get to each and every question. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the first question of the week. It is this person went through a flash flooding type of event here in Jersey. Last week we had some pretty heavy rain and there was a lot of flash flooding going on. I had to go through some deeper puddles, more than I was comfortable with, but it is what it is. So if you're going through about 12 inches of water or so, that should be enough to where it does not get inside the vehicle, although you could have some damage. So most common thing we see are evap canisters getting water in them. And at this point, you see eventually a code pop up in the dashboard. Might not be immediately, might be a day or two after. So that would be my biggest concern. Obviously, if your car has some torn suspension items, torn boots, or anything of that nature, then obviously you'd want to get those looked at as well. Just make sure nothing starts rusting or anything along those lines. So if nothing pops up after a while, you may want to just lift it and look. But if nothing pops up after 2 or 3 days or so, you should be fine as long as water didn't go inside the vehicle. If it goes inside the vehicle, you're going to want to air that out, remove the carpet immediately before you start building up mold and stuff like that. But in the event it was just some deeper water and you're just concerned, most common thing that we do see is evap canister damage. And all you have to do at that point is replace it. You could try to dry it out. Oftentimes that never works. So just a simple replacement at that time would suffice. So hopefully that answers the question for you. So the next question is, how do you distinguish that you have a wheel bearing starting to fail or failed already versus having a bad tire causing a noise? So a lot of times this gets often diagnosed incorrectly and people thinks that it is wheel bearings and that's actually tires. So when it's a tire noise, it's more of a wooing type of sound. When it's a wheel bearing, it's typically like when you put a baseball card back in the day in your bicycle and you had, a noise, some sort of, it's very hard to explain, but that would be more consistent of a wheel bearing noise. Now, that you could have two noises, one tires and one being a wheel bearing or multiple wheel bearings. So it gets very hard to pinpoint noise travel. So I use a couple different methods between the stethoscope, obviously taking the car on a ride, and a combination of feeling for vibrations and trying to hear which wheel bearing is louder. Like I said, you could have more than one failure. Oftentimes it's just one. But a lot of people think they have wheel bearing failures and it ends up being cup tires or feather tires causing that noise. So once again, just really depends on the situation. But again, tire noise will be more of a wooing type sound and you'll hear it more on a better paved road or a newer paved road. If you're here in my area, most of the roads are pretty crappy. So anytime we have a better paved road, people's noises get amplified. So if it's a wheel bearing noise, it's not really going to matter on what type of road surface you're on. So just something to kind of pinpoint and distinguish the two. Obviously, take it to a professional. You don't want to be spending money on a wheel bearing if it's tires and vice versa, or replacing a wrong wheel bearing or whatever the case may be. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, so this next question is probably going to be a little bit controversial, but Honda's recommending 87. Should I use 91 or 93? I'm going to say absolutely yes. Yes, the car will detune itself or pull timing if needed on an 87 type of octane, although it could only do so much. So especially if you have a 1.5T, a 2.0T, or the new 3.0T, or anything turbo, supercharged, anything forced induction, you're going to want to use 91 or 93 octane or better. The reason, in my opinion, Honda says, or they market 87 is because if they were to say, all right, well, this Honda Accord or Civic requires 91, they would absolutely get demolished by sales, and obviously customers would look elsewhere. Oftentimes, when you look at the same type of vehicle on the Acura side, it will be recommended the higher octane fuel because usually that's a different type of market. So just my 2 cents, anything, I put 93 in my Pilot. Is it overkill? Maybe. Will it help the cats down the road? Absolutely. A 93 is often better for not promoting detonation and stuff of that nature. So I'm going to say 93, 91 if you can, if you have the means for it. It's only a couple of dollars difference per tank full, and I think it will pay off in the long run, especially with catalytic converter failures and stuff of that nature. So hopefully that answers the question for you. The next question is, what are my thoughts on the 11th generation Honda Civic sticking steering wheel situations? I've also had people complaining about the HRV, CRV, and Integra, saying that they're feeling the steering sticking situation. I personally have not felt one. We haven't really had any customers complain about it, which is weird because obviously it's all over the internet. So I think it might just be a simple software type of issue. These steering racks are made to where they ease up when parking to make the steering easier, and then they stiffen up on the highway just to give you more of a comfortable and affirmative type of feeling. So I think, once again, it might just be a software type of issue, and it's glitching at times. Again, I haven't felt it, so I can't say for sure, but I think Honda eventually will come out with a repair for this. It's all over the internet once again, and I'm sure they're aware of it. They're probably just working on finding the solution, whatever that may be, whether it be a software update or a steering rack replacement or something along those lines. I don't think it's anything else. Even personally, I don't think it's steering rack itself, because if it was a mechanical failure, I think it would probably be a lot more consistent and would be all the time in a lot more vehicles. So the software might just be certain conditions, certain parameters, speed, temperature, whatever the case may be. So hopefully Honda does have a solution for this soon. And like this, we could get all these people's confidence back with these vehicles, and everyone could feel comfortable driving their car. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, so this next question is, when should throttle body cleaning be done, and how do you do it? So I'm actually gonna have a video on this, but I'll answer the question. I think around 60,000 miles is a good time to be doing these throttle body cleaning services. Oftentimes they do build carbon at the plate, and then they cause a bunch of drivability issues, low idles, hesitation, even potentially some sort of codes for the engine. So what I do personally, as I open up the throttle body, make sure the engine is obviously off. You should probably also disconnect the battery just for peace of mind. So I open it up with a small pry bar or a bigger type of screwdriver, hold the plate open while I clean it with some brake clean, carburetor cleaner, whatever you want to use, anything in that nature. Just take a rag and work them back and forth. You don't typically have to take out the throttle body per se, but you could if you choose to do that. Then obviously you might want to replace the rubber O-ring gasket as well. So once again, clean from the bottom, clean from the top. Try to be as thorough as possible and just clean it like that. After that, you do need to reset the throttle position sensing. If not, you're probably going to have a high idle or throw a code, and you don't want to deal with that. So make sure you have a scan tool that's capable of doing that. I believe the one I've been using does do it. Once again, I'm going to make a video on it, and I'll use that scan tool. Obviously, it's a very affordable scan tool, and you could do this right at home instead of paying $200 or $300 to have somebody do it, or do it at your dealer, whatever the price may be in your area. So once again, open a throttle body with a longer screwdriver and just clean it. After that, you're gonna have to relearn the throttle position. If not, it's gonna throw a code and or have a high idle. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, last but not least, question of the week. And once again, if you want one of your questions being answered, make sure you drop a comment down below. And next week's video will be back on Monday, which will be New Year's Day. But anyways, what is the best value for tools? And that's a very complicated question, to be honest. I shop around all sorts of brands, from Home Depot, Harbor Freight, Matco, Mac, Snap-on. I like a lot of online vendors as well. I use a lot of Capri tools as well. So it really depends on the situation. Anything swivel, I try to use Snap-on. You do not want to be hit in the face with a broken swivel sockets. And from my experience, the Snap-on ones are definitely the best ones. As far as electric tools, I've had Snap-on, but I'm slowly converting to Milwaukee. It's just more affordable. And I just think Snap-on, in that perspective, is very, very overpriced. But if you do use Snap-on, you like it, great, whatever works for you. The cheaper stuff like Harbor Freight, let's say, it's great for a DIY or somebody who uses the tools often like me. It's not going to last very long. Although you could easily replace 2, 3 for the price of one Snap-on one. So it's just something you have to consider. Something if you have a Harbor Freight local to you, where you can go in there real quick if something breaks and pick up another one, or you have their warranty, or whatever the case may be. Matco uses a lot of the tools are rebranded, so you can oftentimes find that same exact tool for cheaper. There's also local tool stores, whatever the case may be, and it really depends on the situation. Torque wrenches, absolutely, you want the top of the line. I use Snap-on. You don't want to be using a cheesy torque wrench and just having being torquing stuff incorrectly when you're being confident, and then the torque is all wrong. So some stuff you just have to shell out the money, especially if you're in the industry. If you're a DIYer, maybe not. Maybe you want to use the cheaper stuff, which is fine for, again, a couple times of use. But stuff you have to torque, I would definitely recommend Snap-on, something better versus maybe a Harbor Freight type of item. Not that it won't work, just especially me being a professional in the industry, I try to pick and choose what I use. But torque wrenches, sockets, impact sockets, stuff like that, I like to pay the money for. It's not worth taking the risk, in my opinion. So hopefully that answers the question for you. With that being said, I'll catch you guys on the next one.